Ryan Reynolds here for, I guess, my 100th Mint commercial. No, don't. No. I mean, honestly, when I started this, I thought I only have to do like 4 of these. I mean, it's unlimited premium wireless for $15 a month. How are there still people paying 2 or 3 times that much? I'm sorry, I shouldn't be victim blaming here. Give it a try at mintmobile.com/save. Whenever you're ready.
$45 upfront payment equivalent to $15 per month. New customers on first 3-month plan only. Taxes and fees extra. Speed slower above 40 gigabytes. See details.
Hello everyone, Gabby here.
And I'm Brenna.
And welcome back to the Mystery of Everything podcast. So today I'm sick, and I know every time I'm sick people are like, Gabby, you sound like you're reading. Yes, because when I'm sick I can't inflect because I can't even breathe through my nose. So I'm really sorry in advance. But today's episode is brought to you by Lord Zoktar, who a couple weeks ago suggested on Instagram that I do an episode about ghost ships, and I already did one kind of, which was the episode of the Mary Celeste. So I just thought, how many more ghost ships could there be, you know? Well, there's a lot. There's so many ghost ships. There's so many mysterious disappearances of ships. So I went through a bunch of them today just to see, and I picked out the most interesting ones. So in today's very fun episode, I plan on diving into a few different stories. And boy, a lot of these are really wild. So before we dive into the different cases, let's just define ghost ships because I did not actually know what a ghost ship was. So yeah.
What do you mean? A ghost
okay, so
ship?
I thought it was just like, I thought it was a haunted ship or a legend of a ship.
Yeah.
And not like, well, that's part of it, but that's not like the definition of ghost ship. So according to the Royal Museum of Greenwich, ghost ships are also called phantom ships, and they're vessels that are found with no living crew on board. So it doesn't necessarily have to be
haunted.
A phantom. Yeah, it's just an completely abandoned ship.
Oh,
you know?
Side note, you all remember that movie? Gabby probably doesn't, but it's literally called Ghost Ship. One of the first horror movies I ever watched when I was younger. And if you've seen it, you understand, because the intro scene, they're all dancing on the deck of this ship, and this little girl is holding her grandpa dancing, and then a wire snaps or a cable snaps or something, and then it decapitates everyone, every adult. But the little girl's short, so she's just holding grandpa dancing and doesn't realize everyone's decapitated. And then she looks up and grandpa's fucking head falls off. It's the first scary movie I ever watched.
What?
And that's
was she okay?
Well, no, because every adult on the ship is dead. She don't know how to steer a ship. She ends up dying on the ship, pretty sure. And then the ship is haunted, and that's the rest of the movie, I think. I don't know. I was little when I watched it. Avi didn't watch it again because traumatized. I should watch it again.
Horrible.
Yeah, I should watch it again. Yeah.
I'm not okay. But many ships may have been found with maybe a dead crew member, but no one else around to explain what happened, you know? So they'll find a ship with no one alive on it, but just a bunch of dead people. And they have no idea what killed everyone. So these ships can be old, broken down ships that are just floating around with no crew on board, or they can be ships that are sighted that are more than, they're kind of a legend instead of an actual ship. So there's some examples of phantom ships like the Octavius. So basically the phantom ships are these ships that are legendary. They're not sure if these ships were actual ships or if they're just the legend of a ship that people say they see sailing every full moon, you know?
Oh, okay. But we haven't found said ship.
Exactly. So speaking of the Octavius, I did look into it because I kept seeing it mentioned everywhere. And at first I thought it was just a legend of a ghost ship. But as it turns out, it was a very real ship that was also a part of a legend. And let me explain. So the Octavius was sailing from England to Asia, and it set sail in 1761. and it arrived at its destination in 1762. However, upon their return, the ship's captain, he decided to attempt something super dangerous, and that was to go through the Northwest Passage. And guys, I really want to give some info about this Northwest Passage, because if you don't know what it is, you wouldn't understand why this was such an incredibly bad idea. So to start this off, this was an attempt that he made in 1762. However, the first person to ever actually successfully sail the Northwest Passage entirely by ship was a man by the name of Roald Amundsen, and he did this in 1905, so almost 200 years later.
Ooh.
So you could say this very early attempt that the captain made was essentially a suicide mission due to the nature of the passage itself. So a little bit of background, this will kind of set the stage for why it was stupid. The thing about this Northwest Passage is it's a sea corridor that connects the Atlantic and the Pacific Oceans through Canada's Arctic archipelago islands. So I have a little map of this passage that I'll post for you guys because it's really important for you to see what we're working with. But basically it was important because people really needed a way to get to Asia without having to go either around Africa or around South America prior to the construction of the Panama Canal. So if they were able to take that northern route, which many knew existed, they could save like a ton of time. The problem was, though, no one could traverse it until 1905 because of the nature of the icy conditions. So many people who attempted passage throughout this Northwest Passage, they ended up getting stuck on ice, or they got so lost that they faced like insane mutinies with their crew. And Henry Hudson, I think, was one of these people who faced a mutiny with his crew. There was one story of like the crew just like sailing away and putting him and I think his first mate on a little paddle boat, like, you know, one of those boats, a rowboat. And then they just like sailed away.
Oh, that's awful.
Yeah, so not great. Basically, back then you did not want to take your crew into the Northwest Passage because the thought of freezing to death on the ship, horrific.
Not ideal.
Horrific, right? So anyway, for the captain of the Octavius to attempt this mission in the year 1762, it was without a doubt a suicide mission for him and his men. And that's exactly what happened. So this ship ended up disappearing somewhere along the route with no trace of the captain or his men. That is, there was no trace until 15 years later on October 11th, 1775. So a whaler ship named the Herald, they actually spotted something floating off the coast of Greenland. Upon a closer inspection, they realized that the ship was weather-worn, and so they determined that, hey, we have a missing ship, and the only ship that could be this weather-worn would be the Octavius.
But it's still like floating along, not wrecked into anything or...
Nope.
What?
Just like on its merry way, 15 years later. So the captain of the Herald, they sent a boarding party on deck to search the ship. So the boarding party, once on board, they found this ship like completely deserted on the top, like the deck. However, when they opened the ship's hatch, what they found below was horrifying. The entire 28-man crew was frozen to death in their quarters. And in the captain's quarters, they found the captain at his desk with a pen still in his hand, writing in his logbook.
No way.
Yeah. And behind him on the bed was a woman and young boy wrapped in a blanket, both frozen to death.
Oh, that is horrific.
So upon discovering this horrific scene, the boarding party, they grabbed that logbook and they did their fucking best to get the fuck out of Dodge. Like they were super freaked out by it.
Understandably.
But in this hurry, they ended up losing some of the pages of the logbook because it was 15 years later. And so that bookbinding had worn down. So the pages that they were able to salvage, they show that the Octavius ended up becoming stuck in the Arctic ice, and its last position logged was 250 miles north of Barrow, Alaska. So that meant it probably ended up breaking free of the ice, and it ended up drifting through the passage to the other side 15 years later, which is really, really sad. However, this was the last sighting of the Octavius, as the Herald crew was so terrified of it that they left it alone, because they were afraid that it was haunted or it was cursed, and it was never seen again. So I guess it must have sunk at some point.
Or it's still just floating around.
So that story is honestly super sad, and it's really chilling. And I know that in like later years, the British had offered a £20,000 bounty to anyone that could find a way through the Northwest Passage. So I think that may be, like, I'm assuming this. That's probably why the captain was trying to make an attempt. Like, £20,000 in 1762 is roughly £5 million today.
Gabby, I gotta stop you. I gotta stop you for a second. Do you realize that she said the story is so sad and chilling? Did you do that on purpose?
No, I did not.
It's a little chilling. You get it? You all get it.
No.
Gabby's funny. She's funny. Not the right time, Gab. Not the right time.
I know. It's very sad. It is
sad.
Very unfortunate.
It is very chilling. I'm sorry. Sorry. Carry on. 20,000 pounds. That's a lot of dough.
So that leaves me to ask, would you try a potential suicide mission for £5 million?
Yes.
Really? But you could freeze to death and die.
But I could also survive and then not have to work anymore.
You know what? I'll give you that. I will give you that.
I do not like my job. Speaking of which, shameless plug, unless my coworkers are listening, then fast forward for the next 15 seconds. If you or a loved one has a remote job opening for someone with a biology degree, let a girl know. I'm joking. I'm not joking. Remote job.
Help her out.
Remote job, biology degree, over 3 years medical laboratory experience. I'm your girl. Carry on, shipwreck, disaster.
You need to make like a little a TikTok, basically one of those like promo videos, you know, but it's just you and your degree,
It's
like
just
a
me.
video resume.
It's just me selling everything I have to offer. I'm very charming, and I got jokes. I'll make you laugh. Make you laugh so
She'd
hard.
be personality hire who also knows how to do their job. Where are you going to find that?
Nowhere except right here in the middle of Kentucky. And I have internet and I have a headset. So what more do you need for a remote job? I can do anything. I could be a plumber if you want. I'm just kidding.
A remote plumber.
I did apply to be a plumber not that long ago, and then I was like, wait, Brenna, like, do we really think it was when you get mad at your job and you just apply to a bunch of random shit and then they start calling you back and you're like, wait, I am not actually qualified to be a fucking plumber. Like, what did I need to rethink this. So yeah, that happened. But anyways, remote job sounds pretty great. I'm interested. But you know what I'm more interested in is the shipwreck, the next shipwreck we have going on.
So next up, we have a ship that historians, they aren't even sure it truly existed, with many experts in maritime matters believing that there just isn't enough evidence to prove that this ship ever even sailed the sea. So this controversial ship is the SS Ourang Medan. So the disagreements on its existence are due to many people believing that the story comes from legends that were retold so many times that some believe the events were real. However, others believe that the tale is a cover-up for what actually happened to the Ourang. So the play-by-play on the legend of this ghost ship comes from Discovery UK. They did an incredible deep dive article that laid out the facts and the fiction. Since so many details of the story have been retold so many times with different versions, it's really, really tough to piece everything together. So let's dive into it. The story begins in 1940 when distress signals were sent from the SS Ourang, and these ships, like the signals, they were picked up by an American ship called the Silver Star, which was in the Straits of Malacca. So in Morse code, the ship's radio operator is said to have sent a message saying, SOS from Ourang Medan. We float. All officers, including the captain, dead in chart room and on the bridge. Probably whole of crew dead. It is then said that there were multiple other Morse code messages that couldn't really be deciphered that were then followed by a final message that said, I die.
I was literally about to say, then who the fuck is sending the message if whole crew is dead? But then if you die too, then.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So upon hearing this message, the Silver Star headed to the location of the Ourang. It is said that they took about a day to get there, but when they arrived, they were greeted by a horrifying sight. Ourang Medan was silent. There was no steam from the engines, no signs of life on board. In fact, not a sound came from the ship.
Newsflash, you can lose weight like a celebrity without being a celebrity. New Glucotrim from GNC delivers serious results with a proven formula that features ingredients derived from nature, like berberine. And the best part? You don't need a crazy expensive prescription. Glucotrim works with your body to support healthy blood sugar and protect lean muscle mass, unlike other products out there. And did I mention it's caffeine-free? So if you want real results, get on that celebrity weight loss level with new Glucotrim. Get it at GNC.
So this is History Uncovered, and I'm Kalina.
And I'm Austin. We are the co-hosts of the show.
History Uncovered is a podcast presented by All That's Interesting, where we both are writers. We cover all sorts of topics: true crime, unsolved mysteries, history, folklore, the paranormal, you name it.
We've been doing this now for more than 100 episodes, covering a wide range of topics, and probably something that's bound to be interesting for everyone out there.
Absolutely. And in addition to our normal episodes, we also do a history happy hour about the recent news in the world of history and archaeology, which we cover daily on the site, as well as important historical anniversaries.
We also have done some special series. We've done one on the Titanic, doing one on Jack the Ripper, done one about some famous UFO sightings. So if all of that sounds like something that might be interesting to you, and you like having a good time, learning new things, and maybe laughing or just groaning at some bad puns, check out History Uncovered everywhere you get your podcasts.
Sorry, I had to drink something.
You're fine.
Which made sense when a search party boarded and found the ship littered with bodies of the crew. It is said that the dead crew members' faces were contorted in fear, with silent screams still on their lips.
Oh.
It's also said that the ship's dog was also found dead in an unsettling position, as though he was snarling at something.
Oh, that poor baby.
Yeah, pretty disturbing stuff.
And dogs can see things that we can't.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So the causes of death, they could not be found. And before the search party was actually able to investigate further, they noticed smoke coming from the cargo hold, and a few moments later, an explosion large enough to sink the ship followed. Luckily, the search party was able to make it off the ship before that explosion rang out. But of course, this event produced more questions than answers, because what would sink the ship like that if everyone on board was already dead, as far as they knew? So how would the fire break out a day after the deaths of the entire crew? Would it not have broken out much earlier? Did whatever caused the explosion do it to cover up what had occurred on the ship? And now this is the weird part. The Silver Star allegedly was the ship that went out to perform this rescue, but their logs don't mention a rescue attempt at all. And that's not the only weird thing. There were also no records or shipping record of a vessel under the name Ourang Medan, and no one came forward saying that they ever served on the ship or even knew of her. There were no photos, crew manifests, build records, or any other official documentation of that specific ship. In addition, the dates and locations in each story changed significantly each time. The ship was reported near the Solomon Islands, while in other stories, they placed it in the Marshall Islands. So nothing about this is consistent in the least. In addition, one of the earliest known mentions of this ship comes from an article in the British National newspaper, which was published during World War II. And this story was told back then by British soldiers. And in their version, the ship that went to rescue the Ourang was actually a British one. And the search party, they only found dead crew members with no mention of a dog. However, in that version, the ship did, in fact, explode too. So why would there be so many variations and inconsistencies in this story? And what are the theories?
So I feel like something happened, but it's like a game of telephone throughout the years. So it's just been passed on from person to person, probably embellished quite a bit. Like, who knows if the dog thing's actually true, being, like in a state of fear, probably just embellished to the point where it's changed so much that we will never know the truth.
Exactly. So the original reports of the ship, they may have been embellished by retailers that were just looking for profit. So for instance, there was a reporter named Silvio Shirley. He just wanted money. Shirley got his story from an Italian missionary who allegedly rescued the sole survivor of the ship after he washed up on the Taongi Atoll in the Marshall Islands. This German survivor said that the ship was sailing from China to Costa Rica, carrying illegal cargo. So this cargo was sulfuric acid that wasn't stored or handled appropriately, and that led to the fumes escaping the containers and killing the entire crew. So the strange thing about Shirley, though, is that he was originally based in Trieste in 1940, and that was when the initial report of the Ourang sinking was made. And some people believe that Shirley was the one that made that initial report in 1940, but then he also may have reported again on it in 1948. The issue is they can't really prove it, and it may be just another one of the conspiracies that surrounds this mysterious ship. So, another theory is that there may have been a natural occurrence where methane hydrates were released. Basically, methane may have been released from the seabed and it caused the crew to suffocate. And this could also have led to the explosion that destroyed the ship.
You remember that one time we had an episode not that long ago where we were talking about why bananas, why people on ships won't have bananas on them? Because the fumes when they ripen, I don't know, and then rotten fruit eventually leading to explosions because the fumes it releases. But you would still need a flame source in order to get an explosion. And then if everyone's been dead for that long, how is there a flame source? You know what I mean?
True. So another theory is piracy. Of course, that one would come up because the Ourang Medan was maybe involved in illegal activities, and they may have been killed, and the explosion may have been used to cover up what happened. And this is supported by the fact that the ship did not have official documentation. So if it existed and it was sailing, then it very well could have been up to illicit activities. So we may never know for certain what happened, or even if it did exist. The overall consensus is that a ship may have sank in mysterious circumstances, but it may have gone by a different name. And then the story might have gotten picked up by people like Silvio Shirley, who embellished it and published it, which led to the rise of multiple different versions. And that, my friends, is the story of the SS Ourang Medan. I honestly think the ship may have been carrying some sort of chemical that caused the deaths and an explosion, but I also think it may have been a different type of ship, and since this was occurring around World War II, it may have been secretly tied to the war efforts, but again, who knows, you know? Okay, so next up we have the mystery of the Carroll A Deering. And this was an American 5-masted schooner that disappeared somewhere off the coast of OBX in January 1921. So it was an 1,879-ton, like a 1,879-ton ship that was completed in 1919. This ship was the last of 100 ships that was constructed by the Deering Company, and it was one of the last wooden sailing ships to be built in the entire world. The ship was 255 feet long and 45 feet wide with 5 masts and 3 decks, which is pretty impressive.
That's a big ship.
Right? And it was wooden. That's pretty cool.
That is cool.
So the ship was luxurious in the sense that it had a toilet, fancy, and steam heat, along with electricity.
Something about
luxury.
Something about luxurious ships back in the day, though, is everybody dies.
Yeah.
I don't trust a luxurious ship back in the day.
So on January 31st of that same year, it was spotted from Cape Hatteras, where it had run aground on the Diamond Shoals. The thing about this location is that it was difficult to get to due to weather and the dangerous waves. Surfmen utilized a surf boat, were the ones that were called to attempt to make it out to the wreck. And if you don't know what a surf boat is, it's an oar-driven boat that is designed to enter the ocean from the beach in heavy surf or severe waves, and it's mainly used in life-saving rescue missions. Guys, look up surf boats in action. It's absolutely terrifying. Like, it is this little tiny boat, and the waves are like taller than the men, and they're about to get on this small boat in those waves. It's horrifying to watch. So the surfmen attempted to launch their surfboat into the ocean in the hopes that they could reach the schooner and rescue the crew. It took multiple attempts to successfully launch this boat, but eventually they were able to make it out to the schooner. Once they got there, the ship was found to be in like decent condition. The sails were set, the schooner's 2 boats were gone. But the ship was driven up really high onto the shoals, which seems like it would be really difficult for that to occur in the first place. However, the men could see no movement on board. So the men returned to shore due to the intensity of the waves that really, it was keeping them from getting any closer to the boat itself. However, they had a lot of questions as to why no mayday call was sent out and why there seemed to be absolutely no signs of life on the schooner since everything about it seemed fine except for the missing boats. So the second rescue attempt, it came in the form of the Coast Guard cutter, the Seminole. The Seminole was docked in Wilmington, North Carolina, and it was ordered to assist with the rescue of the Carroll A. So upon receiving this call, the ship made its way non-stop sailing toward Cape Hatteras. And when it finally arrived, 9 surfmen were sent out in a surfboat to spend the night aboard the cutter in the hopes that the next day the sea would calm and they'd be able to go out. After this, however, a lot of miscommunications and communication delays ended up plaguing this rescue mission. For instance, the cutter sailed right past the schooner that it was supposed to be rescuing. Because the sails were set, they assumed that it was an able-bodied ship. So one of their messages was sent in error saying that, hey, the ship we're supposed to be rescuing isn't here. Like, I think it was towed in. And then everyone's like, no, you just sailed past it, bro. So right after this, messages started to get delayed. For instance, another cutter was trying to join the rescue mission. That message was really, really delayed. In addition, they were unable to see the schooner that was stranded as the seas were breaking over her and not at all clearing as they were hoping, so they could just attempt a rescue. So seeing that the seas were not going to calm down, the surfmen made another attempt to reach the schooner by launching off of the cutter. This time, they planned on boarding the schooner. However, they were not able to make it out there due to the sheer size of the waves. In fact, conditions were so bad that the Coast Guard cutter Seminole had to actually be moved from where it was docked to avoid being damaged. And more ships were sent out in the hopes that one of them would be able to do something in the rough seas. So this is where the Merritt and the Chapman Derrick and Wrecking Company's tugboat called the Rescue was the ship that was finally able to make it out to the schooner, as they called in another cutter called the Manning, but this one was also like way too big. So the crew of the Rescue, which is that one tugboat ship, it was finally able to board the schooner, and what they found was like really, really weird. So they found food prepared but uneaten in the galley, as well as the 2 missing lifeboats mentioned before.
I want to know.
There was also.
I want to know like how old that food was. Like, was it starting to rot? Was it fresh?
Right?
I need to know.
So, I didn't mention that part, but I'm assuming it was like prepped, so like it couldn't be too rotted, you know?
Yeah.
So they found the prepared food uneaten in the galley, the 2 missing lifeboats. There were also a lot of missing items, though, such as documents, charts, navigational instruments, and the chronometer. So these items were vital for navigating, and they were all gone. In addition, the anchors were also missing. So the logbook also showed that the writing of Captain Wormel, the Carroll Deering's captain, it ended up getting replaced after January 23rd by someone else's handwriting. In addition, the steering gear was ruined and the wheel itself was broken. The binnacle box, which is the area that stores the ship's navigational equipment, such as compasses, it was bashed in and shattered. The ship's rudder was also said to be 15 feet from where it was supposed to be, and it was stuck in the deck. So what happened to the ship for any of this to occur? Well, there's like a ton of theories. One of the most common ones is that a mutiny occurred, which would explain the replacement of the handwriting in the logbook. But if a mutiny had happened, wouldn't that have led the crew to taking over the ship instead of abandoning it and destroying it? You know?
Yep.
So that leads to another theory. There was another vessel known as the Hewitt that had disappeared while carrying a shipment of sulfur. Some people had the theory that these 2 ships collided. However, there were no oars, no life preservers, or floating wreckage to be found, and the Hewitt itself was nowhere to be seen. However, in 1921, a message in a bottle was found that said, quote, "Deering captured by oil-burning boat," unquote, which led to the State Department launching an investigation to the various boat disappearances that had recently occurred. as it was suspected then that the ships may have been captured by pirates. But around the same time, the newspapers started reporting that the ships were being stolen and taken back to Russian ports, which, like, I mean, that's an insane claim. Why would you do that? So it turned out, though, that the message in the bottle was a hoax. And once they found this out, you know, like the State Department called off all of their official investigations. So like now we'll for sure never know. So another theory is that this ship passed over the Bermuda Triangle. And although myths of the Bermuda Triangle didn't start until many, many years later, people retroactively attributed its disappearance to the Bermuda Triangle mystery. But that, my friends, is literally all we know about the Carroll Ourang. We have no idea what happened. The most likely cause is there was a mutiny, as the captain and the first mate of the ship were known to hate each other. And this would explain the change in the logbook. As to what would cause everyone to abandon ship in lifeboats in waters that were as treacherous as the ones that we just described, I have no clue. Like, if I saw waves breaking over my boat, there is no way I'm getting in a smaller boat, you know?
Unless you really want to escape the first mate. He probably killed the captain and took over, but he was probably like a little bit insane, a little bit psychotic. And then everyone's like, look, we got to get the hell out of Dodge. We got to break open the shit, steal it. Like the compass and all that shit we need for navigation. We got to steal it.
But they left their food. I mean, at least take some for the road, homies.
Unless you had to leave like real quick in the middle of the night.
True. But where's the first mate then? Did they kill him and throw him overboard? There's so much.
Maybe they left him and then he woke up and he's like, what the fuck? I'm all alone. You can't control a ship and run a ship all by yourself, especially one that big. So then he starts to go crazy and he kills himself.
You know, I want to be like, that's crazy, but that's
no.
Yeah, that could have happened.
That's what happened. That's my story and I'm sticking to it.
Good work. Good work. I think we cracked the case wide open, you guys.
Problem solved.
No further. Exactly.
No further investigation needed.
Thank you. Thank you. I feel like you need to have a show where you just like investigate stuff, but then you just come up with your theory.
And then that's it.
It'd be like ancient aliens, but like Brenna's theories.
I like it. Whenever we do the Brenna's Brain episodes, now we can throw in Brenna's theories. I'm down. Let's do it.
All
right, let us know what you guys think on the Patreon. You all for it? Yes. Don't answer that. I already know.
Okay, so that's all the ghost ships I have time for right now, but I do want to give an honorable mention to one final ship. And this is the ghost ship Sando. So this was a Norwegian ship that was docked in San Francisco in 1890. The captain and first mate of this ship, they were really good friends. That is, until the captain's wife became involved. So while docked, the captain, who was named Nels Eriksson, he found out that his wife was involved in an affair with his first mate. Heartbreak. And upon learning this, he got his wife, who had decided that she was sorry and she wanted to stay married, to assist him with a plot to murder the first mate.
Dang.
Right? So she ended up getting that man drunk, and she allegedly held his arms while her husband chopped off the first mate's head with an axe. Afterward, they allegedly tossed the captain's headless body into the San Francisco Bay and then they just kept the head in a locker, or in some accounts, a bucket under the captain's bunk.
Why would you keep the head?
I have no clue.
They're on some serial killer vibes, though, because like you can't tell me this was just, let's just murder him to get rid of him, because people that keep mementos, you got some real shit going on in that head of yours.
Right? And so when the headless corpse was found, some accounts say that the captain and his wife were immediately found and executed, while other accounts say they skipped town and they escaped. Not sure which one actually happened. But either way, the owner of the Sando, they needed a new captain and a new first mate. And the new captain, however, ended up being killed 4 months later in a mutiny from the crew. The next 2 captains after that also died, with one dying from poison from a cut in his hand, and the other dying during a violent storm. So just terrible track record, you guys. But according to legend, the ship was cursed long before any of these captains' deaths unfolded. It was said that during construction, several men ended up being killed in accidents, and the widow of one of the men cursed the ship and everyone that was to sail on it. And then in order to finalize this curse, it is said that she allegedly committed suicide.
I believe it 100%.
So with the constant deaths of captains, the crew decided the ship was cursed, and so they ended up abandoning it in Bathurst, New Brunswick. And with a haunted and cursed reputation, the owners were really unable to find a new crew. It was so bad that even night watchmen wanted to watch the ship. They didn't want to watch the ship because, as they said, they had many encounters with this headless corpse. So one night watchman, he actually decided to sleep in the captain's quarters. But as he was settling in, he felt something grab his sleeve. And when he looked down, he saw a hand covered in blood connected to an arm that stopped with a blood-dripping neck where a head should be.
Ooh.
After that, the next 6 night watchmen all had really similar stories. And not being able to find any crew or even watchmen to secure the ship, the owners decided to dismantle the ship and sell off the material. Although it is alleged that on foggy nights, you can still see the ghost ship sailing along the San Francisco coast. And that's all for now, guys. Thank you for listening. I hope you enjoyed the episode. If you have anything you want us to cover, make sure to message us on Instagram. And if there's any more ghost ships you want me to cover, please let me know. But I thought these were the coolest ones that I was able to find. So,
these
hope you
were
enjoyed
super
it.
cool. You very much enjoyed it. Super cool. Also, go watch that scary movie, The Ghost Ship. Gabby, you need to watch it too. At least the first 5 minutes, so you just know the part I'm talking about. I'll rewatch it too. It can be like a fun thing that we all do together. Everyone who hears this episode, let's rewatch it. Unless the movie sucks, because I watched it when I was I don't know, 9 or something. I watched that, and then the movie The Haunting, where she's in that house, and then there's wet baby footprints. Good movie.
What?
Yeah, and then you know how those old fancy houses or mansions, they had those angel babies carved into shit? Cherubs maybe or something. Their faces would move and they would watch her. She would walk, and I guess they were trapped children or something that the man of the house had killed. I don't know. I don't really remember that, but it was the second scary movie I ever watched. And I loved that movie to the point where I rewatched it all the time, which what the fuck is wrong with me?
That's terrifying.
Oh, guys, if you're into true crime and stuff, there may or may not be released crime photos of newly released crime photos of a very notable murder. If anyone wanted to stumble upon it.
Was just hearing about that, and it is horrifying.
Oh, I looked them up because I'm a piece of shit. I know, curiosity got the best of me, and I clicked the link and I looked at it, and they are horrifying. And I know.
Are these cigarette burns
yes,
real?
the cigarette burns are real. A lot of them on her back. And I know she was a piece of shit. I know she was, but damn. And then the crime scene photo guys, they didn't have to. I'm not going to go into detail. You'll see it, but they didn't. Some of those photos, I'm did we? I know it's for a reason, but did we have to? Do we have to show that? Do we have to? I don't know. Is that illegal to release those?
I don't know. But if you guys don't know what we're talking about, is the Gypsy Rose crime scene photos.
Oh, they're bad. They're bad. Which also,
Terrifying.
that would suck too. For Gypsy having to, what if she stumbles upon those? That'd be fucked. Anyways,
her entire TikTok is deleted right now, I think.
So she probably has stumbled upon them. Oh, and she's pregnant right now. Damn. Well, that sucks.
Yeah, it's messy.
That's messy. That's very messy. But yeah, wish I wouldn't have looked at them. But curiosity got the best of me. And yeah. And it's so weird too, because it's also pictures. Sorry guys, this episode's over if you want to skip ahead. This is just a ranting part. But there's also pictures of just the house. And I don't know why, but it's weird to me to see after crimes have been committed, and then you just look at the normalness of a house. And it's just frozen in time. The Idaho 4. If you look at pictures of their house and stuff, and then like the good vibes neon signs still lit. Like it's literally like it is frozen in time on how they lived exactly to the point until they weren't living anymore. And something about that is creepier than like the actual crime scene photos itself. I don't know. Anyways, guys, thanks for listening.
Bye.
Bye.